So yesterday I really talked about solving problems as one way that you can kind of make yourself valuable and people want to work with you and want to hire you. And I realize a lot of people don't know how to approach problem solving. And I'll see this in a lot of younger developers. And this isn't to pick on anybody I've worked with when you hear words that you're going to hear me say, that have said to you, but I say these a lot. And here's some tips to help you kind of fix bugs, fix problems. One is don't make mud. You will hear this continuously from me if you're making mud. Making mud means you've got this problem over here. Everything always worked. You added one thing and it was here. And now you have a bug here. Don't think, oh, if I adjust this system over here, now it won't have a bug because of this is going on. Because then what's going to happen is you're going to put a bug there, and now you're going to have two bugs, and you're not going to be sure if you should roll that back or go forward, right? Making mud means you're not sure if you should go forward or back. You always want to have clarity of what the bug is. So you want to isolate it and make it simple of like, this is the problem, let's fix it. Now, occasionally you get an unfair bug. And we have an unfair bug in the Anacrusis right now, I think. And an unfair bug is, hey, this actually never worked. We didn't realize it didn't work because we weren't playing the game in a way that exposed the problem. For us, it's that you can turn off all the respawn timers on versus mode as an alien, and as you're testing, looking for bugs, as an alien, you will see that sometimes you get no health bar. Now, that may have always existed, but we weren't using this system as much. But now it's exposed. And so now we have to decide, are we going to ship it or not? And, back at the Valve days, I used to go and load builds and be like, does a bug exist in here? Yes. Load an older build. Does a bug exist in here? Yes. And find out when we introduced a bug and give us some kind of insight into what's happening, especially somebody who's not really an engineer, right? It's a simple way to look at it, and it's helpful. But that's a big thing is don't make mud. Always have clarity for the bug you're going to fix, and the way forward is forward, not, hey, I don't know, let's try this, right? Like once you get into that, which falls a lot into iteration. And I see this a lot, especially with young level designers. And that is, hold on. So the iteration problem is instead of listening to feedback and making small iterative changes, they throw everything out and start again. So you play their level and you're like, this is amazing. This is great. This is the best level I've ever played. But you know what? If the bridge was just 6 inches taller, people wouldn't be able to jump off of it because it would kill them. And we get the hanging animation in Left 4 Dead. So why don't we just make it 6 inches taller? And they're like, okay, awesome. And you come back the next day, and instead of like this country road and a bridge, you're in a downtown city, and they're like, isn't this so much cooler? And you're like, no. And so I've seen this a lot with younger level designers in particular, kind of this assumes rears up, where they don't actually iterate and understand taking feedback and honing and going to something, right? You put something in rough, and you just keep getting closer and closer and closer to it. Now, sometimes you throw stuff out and you say, this didn't work. This was a good idea. This totally didn't work. Like, we do a lot of experimentation that way. But, that's why I like to do that really rough and not with final assets, because then you know what you're doing and you know you're going to throw it away. But even then, you want to iterate. That's a really important skill to get, is to listen, because partially that means that you understand how to listen. You understand how to take that feedback and then act on it in a way that expresses that understanding. And that's hard. And the other one that I see a lot of people struggle with is not understanding all the problems or not understanding where they are in the project. So I like to ship. I've shipped. You can look at my history. I ship a lot of stuff. And one of the reasons why is because my first bug that you should always fix is the one that has a bunch of stuff behind it. Like, is this bug just in the control system, or is this bug also going to affect the physics system, animation? And let's find it out. Let's tear that apart so we have an understanding. Because the point in a project where even with all the bugs, you just have work ahead of you. You don't have design. You don't have a bunch of unknowns. You just have work. And then it's easy, because then you could look and go, this work's going to take us this long and we'll be done here, right? So I remember at one point I had to walk into Gabe's office when we were working in Left 4 Dead, and we were originally going to ship before the orange box. And I had to say, it's never going to happen. Here's why. Let me break it down. And oddly enough, the skill where I got it from was from the painting crew. Because one reason why I was loved was, so think about it. You look at this wall behind me and you go, oh, that's going to take one person 4 hours. We have the paint. That's $50 an hour. That's $200. Awesome. You understand that. But do you have paint left? Are you behind, not in actual hours on the project that way, but actual work hours, or man hours, meaning like, hey, what you charge the client overall, $50,000 for this paint job, where are you in that? Do you have to spare, or should you make it up? Because if you have it to spare, You want to go to when the customer comes to you and goes, hey, can you paint that wall? Be like, yeah, we got that. We'll throw it in. I'm like, it's going to cost this much, but I think we're good. I'll give it to you. Really appreciate you. Because that person's going to look at your work and be like, oh, that's awesome. That's cool. But now if you're behind in man hours and you're actually going to sink the job and you're not going to be as profitable as you're supposed to be, the $200 wall, you're going to be like, man, I'll ask. That's going to be $300. Hopefully the boss will accept it, right? Because you try to make up your profit there. You try to make up your hours there. And you do that all the time, and you get really good at it. And is it fibbing? Is it lying? I don't know. I'm not going to go to hell for that. I don't even believe in hell. So, but yeah, it was a really good skill to learn because you always had to understand where you were in the project and if you were behind or ahead. I'll tell you what, most people you talk to on a game project have no idea if they're actually ahead or behind schedule. They don't understand schedule, especially at a place that doesn't have producers. And you become a producer. But yeah, and this is why producers pull their hair out, because if they understand, if they're a good producer and they understand, and people try to add new things and they're like, don't do that. We don't, like, it's got to come from somewhere, right? And so that's a good skill to learn as well. So there you go. That's not like the end all. There's other stuff, and that's not necessarily the only way to approach these things. But I find a lot of times younger developers in particular don't step back and go, okay, this is a series of problems, or this is a problem, or this is a bug. How do I approach this? How do I think about this? And kind of how do I dissect it? Is just as important as doing the actual work. Because again, once you get to the work, that's the easy part. It's everything ahead of that. And we really should have a game. Can you guess which breakfast he wants? He's actually being a pretty good boy. Because it's only going to be second breakfast. Only second breakfast? We have 2 more breakfasts we can do yet this morning. He's being a good boy. He actually let me sleep in. He's normally my alarm clock. Today, he's like, we're sleeping in. Slept in an hour extra.